please, can we get a warm welcome for everyone? Niall Simpson, Will Cox-Beverley, Lewis Owusu-Afriyi, Yasmin Hayden, and Stephanie Etta. Can we get a warm welcome for them, please? Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm Niall Simpson. I'm the founder of Black Tech Sales Network. We've been keeping an eye on Black Tech Fest for a couple of years, and we've been trying to speak at this event. So I'm happy when Ashley invited us to come down and speak. So I'm really excited to bring this session to you. So Black Tech Sales Network is a community of Black tech sales professionals, which I set up in 2020. And I've got 4 of the members here on stage who I'm going to get them to just introduce themselves, starting from Lewis at the end.
Hey everyone, so I'm Lewis. Been doing sales for 7 years. July made it 7 years, which is a long time. And I'm a manager for the EMEA account management team at PitchBook Data.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie. I've been working in tech for 10 years. I started off doing software testing, and then I moved into sales engineering, and I currently work at a company called Splunk, doing sales engineering.
Hi everyone, I'm Yasmin Hayden, or Yaz. I've been in tech for only 4 years. I work as an enterprise sales rep at a company called Zscaler. Before that, I was a teacher.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Will. I've been in sales for 4 years now, working for a company called Seismic as an account executive. I do have a northern accent, yes, but no one's allowed to laugh at me.
Northern's where it's at, man. I'm from Huddersfield. Not ashamed of it.
We've got a hole in the house.
All right, so look, Black Tech Sales Network, as I said, it's a community of black sales professionals. And I set Black Tech Sales Network up in 2020 because of my background in sales recruitment. So I spend my day looking for people to work in this industry. I spend my day recruiting people in this industry. And it was very obvious to me when I got in this space that there was not many black people in this industry. And when I'm recruiting these people and I'm asking how much money they're earning and about their jobs, I was scratching my head thinking, why are more black people not in this space? Because it's so lucrative and there's so many opportunities that exist. So I set BTSN up with the idea of bringing more black people together who are in these roles. And our values are to elevate, celebrate, and educate. So we're making sure that we put our members on a pedestal to make sure they do well, they're the future leaders in tech, but we also encourage more people like yourselves to get into the space. And hopefully you can see this network as a role models for you to get into. So this session today is called, we was thinking about what we want to call a session, and we didn't want to scare anyone away by putting the title sales in, because I think people think sales. Why am I going to get in sales? But we thought, let's attract them by saying the shit they don't teach you at uni, and I hope they don't mind me swearing. Because I feel like tech sales is such a big opportunity, as I said, and it's not mentioned at uni. And I think we want to talk about some of the misconceptions about that. We want to talk about how to get into it, and also just our experiences of leaving university and breaking into the space. So we're going to kick the session off by just talking about the basics of what some of the guys had experiences when it came to uni, what they thought about when they were at uni, and yeah, I guess the transition to tech sales. So I'm going to kick it off because I know we're short for time. Stephanie,
Hi.
When you were at uni, what careers were perceived as the most lucrative? What was everyone looking to get into?
Okay, so at university, it was finance, law, and doctor, essentially medicine. That was the most lucrative things. I actually wanted to be a doctor myself, and when I figured out you had to study for 10 years, I was like, no way. So I went through a list of all of my things I was interested in. I checked the salary, and tech came up #1, and that's how I ended up here.
Lewis, same question. What was everyone talking about at your uni?
Legally, investment banking. Yeah, investment banking was #1. Like everyone from psychology through to business was always looking at investment banking. Some people pursued their passions, but that was pretty much it. Work in the city, wear a suit and tie, wear a dress, and just live that life.
Yeah, not for us, is it? Not for us. Will, my northern brother, whilst at uni, what were some of the jobs that you were thinking about when going into uni? What were you thinking about was right for you?
Yeah, being completely honest with you, Niall, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do when I finished university, or throughout university for that matter. And when you think about it, how are you supposed to know as a student what you want to do whilst you're at university when you've had no exposure to any actual industry? And I think that's one of the unrealistic expectations we put on students. telling them they should know what they want to do. So I remember whilst I was at university, I was aimlessly applying for graduate schemes that I thought sounded good. And in my head, I thought if I don't get on one of those graduate schemes, I'm going to be deemed as unsuccessful. Now, the reality is, my personal opinion and what I found is actually getting in with a smaller company from the start will give you quicker exposure and quicker growth. So don't think that getting onto a graduate scheme is the holy grail. It's not. That would be my advice.
Controversial. Yasmin, you said you went into teaching after uni, yeah? So is that something you always wanted to do?
That was never the plan. I was meant to go to grad school, but I broke my neck my final year of university, so put a halt in those plans. And I studied English literature, obviously nothing to do with tech. And I felt that that was the only option I had kind of to pivot into. So that's how I got into that. Originally, when I was at university, I'd done internships at like the BBC. I thought maybe journalism or something in the media would be somewhere I could apply. Didn't ever think I'd end up here. So,
look at you now. And we're going to talk about Yasmin's difference in earnings compared to being a teacher to what she's now later on. So stick around for that. I know everyone's interested in what money do you earn in tech sales. So, Lewis, sticking on the topic of uni. Is there something that you know now that you wish you knew when you was applying for jobs when you left university?
I say, yeah, like, the one thing is you don't have to have it all figured out right now. So for myself, parents from a West African background, it's very much so like, okay, it's time to get yourself in check. What do you want to do? What's your career choice? How long are you going to be in that role for? What's the progression look like? And you just finished uni. Like, I was 21, I had 2 hairs on my chin. Like, you need time to process these things. So I'd say, take your time. Feel free to try different career choices. You're not committed to one. You can change, and many people do, and that's all okay. So I say that's the one thing for myself.
Yeah, okay. I mean, one thing that I wish I knew when I was at uni and what I wish they taught me was the power of LinkedIn and the importance of it. LinkedIn has been a game changer for me. I'm in recruitment, so I use LinkedIn 90% of my job. But even just seeing how it's changed like other people's trajectories in terms of the careers that they've gone into, I feel like LinkedIn is massive. And I speak to a lot of, with Black Tech Sales Network, I speak to a lot of young black people looking to get into the industry, and they're not using LinkedIn how they should. Like, let me just throw some stats at you. So over 75% of people recently found their jobs through LinkedIn. 91% of recruiters use LinkedIn. And over 122 million people have been offered a job interview through LinkedIn. So the old school way of applying through jobs on job boards, I think it's going. I think LinkedIn is really powerful. So, Yasmin, whilst you were at uni, did they teach you the importance of LinkedIn?
So I wouldn't say that university or the careers, team at uni did. The good thing is, we had alumni that were utilizing it. And when you sign on and they kind of say, these are the people that we think are in your network, and you see how many people have it, and then you go on their profiles and you see how they're using it, you start to realize, oh, wait, this should be something I'm doing. Especially if at the same time you're building your CV, and then you see that actually it's more holistic than a CV usually is when you're formatting it, especially when you're 21. So that's where I kind of learned the importance of LinkedIn, and then just kind of reached out to people that were using it and kind of asked from there.
Sure. And Lewis, how important has LinkedIn been in your career when it comes to securing roles and also in your sales career?
Very key. So for myself, my most recent role, I was actually recruited via LinkedIn. I knew it was time for me to move on. And you can actually put on a filter which says you're looking for a new role. So recruiters are actively looking to build a pipeline of reps. Even if you won't take the role right now, they want to know, okay, who are the people we should be looking for? So I was actually approached on LinkedIn, and that's how I've been recruited to PitchBook. And on the other side, it's more so in a sales role, everyone's on LinkedIn. So if you wanted to start conversations, build your pipeline, close new deals, LinkedIn is key for that. It's helped me quite a lot to be successful in my role, and I certainly think everyone should be on LinkedIn.
100%. All right, well, look, like everyone here is in a tech sales role, and we're Black Tech Sales Network, so I think it's only right that we talk about what we do and a little bit more around tech sales, because I think a lot of people are becoming more open to the idea of getting into tech sales, but still, when I speak to a lot of you, it's what is it, how does it work, what kind of money you can earn. So let's dig into some of that stuff. But I thought it'd be good for everyone just to explain what they do on a day-to-day basis, because everyone's got different roles. Yasmin and Will's a little bit similar, but they'll tell you the difference. Let's start with you, Stephanie. So remind everybody what your job title is and what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so my job title is sales engineer, and you'll hear similar job titles like pre-sales engineer, pre-sales consultant. And the way I describe it to family and friends is when let's say someone is coming in and they're selling something to you, you've got the salesperson and you've got the person that knows what they're talking about. And that's me. And that's the way I tend to describe pre-sales. So essentially, you're working really closely with sales, and you're helping, to do the discovery, the technical demonstration, the proof of concept, and so on. So you're actually getting a real mix of technical skills, but also commercial, speaking to clients. So if you've got more of a technical background, you like problem solving, then pre-sales is a great segue into sales. I actually started doing software testing, and from there went into pre-sales, and I found it to be a good transition.
Yeah, I always say anyone who's in a sales engineering position or pre-sales, they've got a mixture of the two. So they like the techie side, but they're also very good in meetings and maybe a little bit money-driven as well, right? So same question for you, Will.
Yeah, so my role is as an account executive, and essentially you can see an account executive as the point of communication between the business selling the technology and the business buying the technology. You're the main point of contact. And my day-to-day typically consists of lots of meetings. So I'm meeting with clients, whether that's on site or over Zoom, talking to them about our technology and working around their organization to try and understand who needs to be involved in a decision-making process so that they can acquire that technology. Of course, with that, there's a lot of challenges that you face, but the end goal is that you can hopefully sell them that technology and then make some money off the back of that, because we're all commission-based. So that's essentially my role. And I think if you're thinking about potentially getting into a role as an account exec or as a salesperson, the key skills I would say would be communication, enjoying working with people, networking. If you're a good communicator and you're good at making friends with people, you'll be a good salesperson.
Yeah. And you sell into mid-market companies, is that right?
Yeah, so I sell into mid-market companies, which encompasses businesses with below 500 employees. So they tend to be quite fast-moving, quicker sales cycles, opposed to someone like Yaz, who sells on the enterprise side.
So just so people can tell the difference when Yasmin speaks. So what's an average deal for you? How much would it cost? When you close a deal, how much is it usually?
Yeah, so typical order values for the technology I sell can be between 100,000 down to 25K. But it just depends on what the client's purchasing and how much that varies, really.
It makes about 10% of that sometimes, even more sometimes. So just thinking about the money you can. And Yasmin, tell the difference between enterprise. Well, introduce your role and what you do, and then the difference between enterprise and mid-market.
Yeah, so at Zscaler, in the enterprise and above segments, we call it regional sales manager. And the reason for that is you're managing the ecosystem that deals with the customer. So whether that is the CSMs, so customer success managers, whether that's the sales engineers, whether that's anyone that's interacting with the customer, you are the manager of that customer and that sales region. I have about 35 accounts, and the average kind of deal size for an annual contract value would be about 250K, and yeah, you make about 10% of that. On top of that, the enterprise is defined by companies up to 5,500 employees, but I've also been at organizations in previous roles where that's been defined by revenue. So you might be selling up to companies that, $1 billion revenue, for example.
Great. And then Lewis, wrap us up on this question. So what do you do? What's your job? Remember, the job title and what you do on a day-to-day?
Yeah, so I've recently become a manager at PitchBook. So my role essentially is managing.
That's a recent promotion, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Give Lewis a clap for that.
Woo! Thank you.
Carry on.
Yeah, I essentially manage a team of account managers. So my day-to-day currently is assisting their questions, helping with pipeline management, helping them to forecast the deals they're expecting to close and so on. But I guess more interesting for you is the account management side. So once, I guess, Will and Yaz close deals, it moves over to the customer success team. And the account managers then hold on to that client. The plan is to renew and grow, upsell, cross-sell across different products, essentially have the relationship go on for many years. So that side looked like demos on a daily basis, meetings with your clients, review calls, renewal conversations, and then the more lucrative side is like the face-to-face meetings. So if you have clients in France, Belgium, I had clients in Thailand, so I was there a few weeks ago. So it gives you the opportunity to travel as well.
Great. I'm looking in the audience. Some people feel like, what are they on about? Like, what are these job titles? What do they mean? And I think this is why we're sat here, is because we want to share this message with you that I think a lot of this message or the earning potential or these jobs are not being shared with you at university. So, Stephanie, why do you think tech sales isn't presented as a job opportunity at university?
Okay, so I've thought about this for a while. It's quite a tricky one. So firstly, the stereotype is that you don't need a degree to do tech sales, which is true. You don't need a degree at all. But I think with sales, you tend to call upon different experiences. So you might have worked in a particular industry, maybe in healthcare, for example, and then you can go to a company that sells healthcare software and your skills will be relevant. So there's many different ways to get into sales. When I speak to everyone, even us here, we all have really different backgrounds and there's not a set path to get into sales. So at university, at career fairs, it tends to be a bit more straightforward. Here's your path and you may do this until you make director, whereas this is really fluid. But I think this is the cheat mode right now, because now we're talking about tech sales, you can start to look into it. And when you actually get an opportunity where you're working for a company, you can dig in deep, really learn about that industry, really take an interest. And if you do decide to pivot into tech sales, then you're going to stand out because you have that deep knowledge.
Yeah, and I see that as well when I speak to unis. You do see the likes of, hopefully they're not listening, JP Morgan, Deloitte. You know, you see the same opportunities all the time, and I think I'd love to see more of these because it's been life-changing and I hope you don't mind me saying, I think for a lot of you. So I think it does need to be presented more. Lewis, new business sales might not be for everyone. You're not hammering the phones, no? You're not like constantly chasing people up. It's different. So what are some of the other commercial roles that you can have in tech which aren't all new business?
So it's interesting because I sit on the other side, which is after the new business deal was closed, which is the account management side. But I guess aside from that, I've already explained that role. So there's other roles which include support. So there's actually a support team behind the clients. There's the engineering side, a bit of what Stephanie does as well. There's what we call customer success managers. So essentially on a day-to-day basis, the client's going to have needs and requests, want to discuss their strategy with someone to ensure they get the most out of the product. So that's where the CSMs, as they're called, come in as well. And those are the main ones that come to mind.
Yeah, Yasmin, I was going to ask you the same question, but I'll change it. How do you, as a salesperson, work with those other positions?
Yeah, so it's slightly different at Zscaler in that I have about 5 current customers alongside new business. And we have slightly different functions. But I'm the first point of contact and I'm, I guess, the executive, or I like to say the CEO of my own business. So I make the calls when it comes to what's happening with that customer, whether it's an active customer or a prospective customer, in terms of how we're going to target them, how we'll support them, and what needs to be done to either convert them to being customers or upselling them to a kind of advanced package. That means that I need to coordinate, obviously, and make sure other people are coordinating. So whether that's delegating or whether that's setting up one-to-ones or group projects to make sure that that customer is being serviced and supported in the way that the deal needs it to be.
Great. Okay. And we're talking a lot about these other industries. I mean, look, if you are looking to get into those spaces, it's fine. But I think some people may be thinking, well, why should I go into tech sales instead of what I've been thinking about? So, Will, what would you say is different about tech sales compared to like financial consulting and those sorts of banking roles?
Yeah, I think it goes against the status quo, doesn't it, to come into tech? Why do I say that? Because if I think about my experience growing up, my parents always told me that to be successful, you had to be a lawyer or a doctor. And I'm sure that a few people in the crowd will be able to resonate with that. The reality is you don't have to be a lawyer or a doctor to be successful in the world as we are today. And if you're trying to align yourself with an industry that's growing that's going to be here in 50 years, that there's going to be opportunities for in 50 years. What's the fastest growing industry? Technology. So with that also comes money. If everyone's driven by money, that's where you should follow, right? Not only that as well, if you look at the environment that we work in, it's very different to the banking industry. You see us here all dressed in relaxed clothing. This is how we turn up to work on a day-to-day basis. We're not in suits. It's a relaxed atmosphere in the office. And the earning potential is just as good, if not better, in this industry. And one of my favourite things as well is we're not working weekends or long hours. So I think that's a big difference to other industries.
You mentioned earning potential there. Yasmin, I have to come back to you because you've had a bit of a life-changing experience when it comes to earnings because you've gone from teaching to tech sales. Like, can you tell people what is the earning potential in this industry?
Okay, so without actually telling you my salary, because I don't think I'm allowed to do that, I was making, when I was a teacher, I was an entry-level teacher, but I was making more than the average entry-level teacher. I left teaching 4 years ago, and I make 6 times as much as I made teaching in my current role.
Jeez.
Do the maths, everyone. Get your calculators
And that's,
out.
that's on target earnings. So if I do better than my target, I make more than that. That's just on target earnings.
Yeah. I'll let everyone just think about that for a sec. Look, there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to sales. I think among black people, I've found anyway when I'm speaking to younger black people. And I think one of the biggest ones is, especially when we're talking about tech, is do you need a technical background to work in this space? Stephanie, you actually studied tech at uni though, right?
Yes.
But do you need a tech degree to be successful in tech sales?
No, you do not. Most of my colleagues do not have a tech degree. They've done different things, from, let's say, retail, recruitment, etc. I think there are many certifications out there that anyone can do. You can go and do an AWS Cloud Practitioner certification today, and that will help you stand out, and it will teach you a lot of things. At the end of the day, it's about, understanding your industry, your technology, and just learning more about it. So you don't need it. It does help, but it's not the only route to get into tech sales.
Amen. Like, I'm a recruiter, and I recruit salespeople for a living, and I'd say only 10% of the candidates study tech at university, and some of them are earning 300, 400 grand a year, and they study geography. Like, you don't need to study tech to understand. These businesses are very good at teaching you how to sell the tech and how to be a successful salesperson. So, thanks, Stephanie. Moving on quickly, just because I know we're strapped for time. When we talk about sales, though, Lewis, I think a lot of people do think of car sales or that annoying guy that's trying to make you buy that jacket or top in the shop. What's the difference between that type of sales compared to tech sales?
So I did retail, actually, one of my first jobs. Key difference is you're behind a screen, right? So there's not people like coming up to you and asking you questions. But ultimately, it's a lot more sophisticated. So not to take anything away from the car or retail sales, but just the approach is completely different. It can be a lot more consultative in terms of the approach as well. And ultimately, like the day schedule, the reward and everything else that comes with it, I just think they're all different types of sales, but I wouldn't go as far to compare them.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Well, I want to ask you all to give one characteristic that you feel that good tech salespeople have. I'll just go this way. So, Will, I'll start with yourself.
I'm going to say presentation skills as a salesperson, because a lot of the role that you're required to do is go out and be able to present to clients about the product that you've got, and that requires you to stand up, do presentations. So you've got to be confident to do that. But there's also a good buzz you get out of doing that as well. So if you're someone who likes to stand up and do presentations and speak to people, sales is a good career path for you.
I'm going to say being a self-starter. You don't have a defined day set out for you by someone else. It's for you to realize what you need to do to get to your goals. So if you're not a self-starter, or if you are a self-starter, that means that you can, go out and be proactive about what you need to do. If today I feel like I need to email this customer, do some research, talk to this person within the business, talk to that person within their business, that's for me to work out versus someone prescribing what I'm going to do today. So definitely being self-starter.
So I'm going to say problem solving. So the reason why I say this is quite often I will get thrown into a situation where last minute I need to do a meeting and the client is talking about something and I don't really know what's going on. And at that point, you need to try and abstract things. You need to problem solve and be able to give the client value. So just having that raw ability of looking at something, trying to understand the themes, and trying to relate back to something you've worked that's similar, I think that's really important, because what you'll find is that, clients are going to pay you to solve their problems to bring business value. So if you've got the ability to problem solve and provide value, then that can take you really far.
For myself, I'd say emotional intelligence, which is basically being aware of your emotions, knowing how to manage them, and so on. Because colleagues may upset you, a client may piss you off sometimes. You may get an email that you thought this deal was going to close, and they come back saying we went with your competitor. You need to know how to manage that. Sometimes it means not replying to the email until a day or two, or as recently in my case, it took me 2 weeks to go back to the client, right? Because think of it as you sent a message to a friend after an argument. You wake up the next morning and you're like, I shouldn't have sent that message. It's very similar. So that's why I say emotional intelligence is a key one.
You got to be able to read the room. You got to be able to read the room.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's it for my questions. Has anyone got any questions in the audience that you'd like to ask myself or the rest of the panel?
Don't be shy. One over here.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for all your talks and everything you discussed. My name is Fakaya. I'm currently a student and I'm interested in specifically tech sales. But my question is, is this your dream job? And if not, why? And do you see yourself progressing further on in the tech field or just completely out of it?
I'll take this one. I never thought I would end up in tech sales. I never thought I'd end up in sales. And I didn't think it was possible that I could end up in tech, although that could have been a dream, but what would have seemed a far-fetched one. I'd say it is my dream job for a couple of different reasons. I get to travel. I get to work with the best of the best. I get to speak to all different types of companies, CIOs, CTOs, heads of infrastructure, heads of IT, because that's the bit that I'm in. But, all different executives. I get to, go to conferences. I get to do stuff like this. It's great, and I'm building that career. So, for example, the experiences I've had in tech sales are very different from other people on my team and other colleagues, because you get complete control over how you want to map your career. And in terms of my aspirations moving forward, I want to stay in sales. I want to lead sales teams, hopefully be a chief revenue officer one day. And then from there, advise other companies on how to build great go-to-market organizations. So that for me is definitely a dream job.
So just to add to that as well, 100% this is my dream job. I'm the kind of person who I get bored very easily. So I'll be doing something, I get good at it, and then I get bored. But with sales, it changes every single day. Every client is going to give you a different challenge. You're going to deal with different personalities. You're going to go to different countries. So I find that it keeps my attention. And I made a very conscious effort to move away from doing development and software testing to move into a customer-facing sales role. So I see myself doing this going forward. And the good thing is, if you change your mind and you say, I want to be a product manager, I want to be a software developer, you have a good place in that company, and you can easily pivot as well. And you actually understand the commercial aspects. I found doing sales and speaking to people has made a positive effect in my life and given me a lot more confidence in other areas. So if you only do it for a few years, it's going to benefit you.
Yeah, the life skills that you learn from being in sales just help you in all aspects, whether it's public speaking, managing relationships with family and friends as well, right? So it just makes you better in so many aspects in life. Any more questions? Yeah, that's what I like to see.
Thank you. You're all members of the Black Tech Sales Network. What have you gained from it, or what have you learned since being a member?
Yeah, I'll take that to start. what have I gained from it? I think if you look at the tech industry, there's not enough diversity in this industry. So take my company as an example. I'm one of 2 in 2,000 that is from an ethnic minority background, okay? So the challenge for me with that is there's no one that looks like me, no one to aspire to who looks like me, and that's something that we need to change. So being part of this community helps to change that, and that helps to make you feel like you're making a change in the society. So I get great gratification from that, and I obviously want to see more diversification in this industry as well.
I say for myself, it's firstly you get to meet people who are just like you, so you have similar struggles, and it gives you someone you can talk to who can relate to that as well. But also the network has a great mentor-mentee program. So through that, I've had great conversations with people, just managing aspects of life, like, hey, should I make this purchase or should I hold on? Down to I have 2 mentors, one's in New York, one's in Texas, and we have a conversation bi-weekly and once a quarter. And some of the advice I've been given just through that is priceless. And I say it's actually led on to closing more deals and helped me in the position I am in now. And that's just from a half-hour conversation through someone I met via Now's initiative. So that, for me, is priceless.
Love that, bro.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Besides Black Tech Sales Network, is there any other programs or networks that are available for people that would like to delve into tech sales?
Try to take it. Put me in a spot because I know a few, but I forgot the names. Come speak to me afterwards. And there's a few programs that give you like a step up into the industry where they teach you the basics of tech sales, where you can be more employable. Is that what you meant? Sorry. Is it, yeah? Stuff like that. Yeah. There's a few businesses now that are helping people understand the basics and then they move into the industry. Yeah.
Hello. Hi. Oh, sorry.
I think is that the last one? Last one, yeah. One more question.
One more question. One more question.
All right. Sorry. So, good to know you from the north, because often all these events are happening down south. We're traveling down to see these events. I'm from Hull, 4 hours drive from Hull, so it's difficult. I'm wondering what you're doing to help other minority people up north with that. And I feel you from Ghana as well.
Look, I mean, BTSM was set up in London because I was based in London when I first set it up, and I live in Manchester. And I've had this question from a few people, if I'm honest, and that is in the plans. It's in the pipeline for us to do more events up north, because I think like the tech space, the sales space is growing up north. So we're looking to hold events in Manchester in the new year. That'll probably be like our destination. So yeah, look out for that. If you join the network, you'll be able to see what's going on. Yeah. I've been told from the back of the room that we've got to wrap up. If anyone does have any other more questions, we're going to be over there. We've got a couple of banners over there. You'll see Black Tech Sales Network. If you want to join the network, you can search us on LinkedIn, and there's a sign-up form where you sign up your name and your details. Then you can join the network, and you'll be able to come to all of our events and our mentor programs, etc., etc. We've got an event happening on the 26th of this month in London. Tickets are free, but they are going quite quickly. So you'll see that on the LinkedIn page. I hope to see some of you there. Thank you for watching.